Assalamu alaikum. This is Mehnaz Akber Aziz with LifeTalks. Philanthropy and empathy, giving and dedication and commitment has no boundaries and has no borders, has been proven by Diana MacArthur, the philanthropist, the businesswoman residing in Santa Fe, and visiting Pakistan 20 times at least to build a state-of-the-art school on 2.3 acres of land in Murtazabad, Hunza. I'm welcoming Diana MacArthur to my show today, and she's joining me from Santa Fe. And I would like Diana, for you to please tell us your story and where did your story begin? And I must add here that in 2010, the people of Murtazabad started calling Diana as the mother of Murtazabad. And I'm also told that a lot of girls born at that time in Hunza or Murtazabad were named after Diana. So Diana, tell me your story. Where did this all began? And uh, how do you feel now? You were recently in Pakistan, and tell me about your journey.
Thank you very much, Mehnaz. And I'm so pleased to meet you again. We did meet in Islamabad at the U.S. Embassy, who gave a reception, and it was very nice to have you there. And we had planned on having this interview while I was in Pakistan, which was a time when there was some possible skirmishes with India. And so in the end, planes weren't flying, people weren't sure where to go. We had to cancel. But this interview is taking place between Pakistan and Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is the southwestern part of the United States. And I live in a wonderful multicultural town of people who came up from Mexico, of Native Americans living in pueblos. And we have a very large monastery here of Tibetan monks. And people come here for the arts, for the Santa Fe Opera in the summertime and the chamber orchestra and all of those wonderful things. It is a unique part of the United States. And sometimes when foreigners come to visit, they say, "Is this the United States?" And yes, it is one part of this country. And I'm glad to be from here. The journey that in respect to Pakistan starts when my daughter, Elizabeth Tschursin, went to hike and trek. And she was in the northern areas, they called it then. This was back in the 1990s. And she had just got her PhD in microbiology. And she was one day walking down the Karakran Highway in Hunza, and she saw a building up the road, and she walked up, and it was this little school. The school was what we called a community-based school. Under the laws of Pakistan, the Welfare Act, a community can incorporate to do some good things in its community, and that is what the elders there did. And their first project was to start up this little school. Well, she met the principal there. He spoke English. He welcomed her. And when he heard that she was a scientist, he said, "Would you please teach our children?" And so she did. And she built a skeleton out of rags I still have a picture. And the esophagus was extremely long. Well, she loved that part of the world. You would almost think she was born there, and that she'd come home. When she finished her teaching, she did come back to the United States, back to visit with me, and I was living then in Washington, D.C. And she had she was fragile in her emotional makeup. She was, you might say, bipolar, and she fell into a deep depression. And almost a year after she returned, she committed suicide. Now, so the story begins there. Leeza, my daughter, chose where a couple of years later I would become involved as what you call the philanthropist, the little lady from Santa Fe, New Mexico. My daughter chose it because she went there. She went up to the school. They welcomed her. She did not just pass on down the road. She stayed and she found fulfillment and happiness there. And it was that very fact was important to me. So at some point, my son, Alex Tschursin, her brother, and I took a trip that was advertised for tourists to go through the Western Autonomous Region of China down into Gilgit-Baltistan, down to Gilgit town and back out, because I said, let us go and see where she was. And we went and we found out what she loved. And I found that I loved it too.
Diana, which year was this?
This was back in 1993.
Oh, okay.
No, that's when she went. And then I went in 2007. I had been wondering for many years what could I do in her honor. And then when I saw this trip advertised, I said, you know, that's where she had fulfillment, and she really wanted to go back and get involved with teaching. She had gone to this school of the Aga Khan Education Service in Gilgit for girls, and she thought that was a wonderful place. And she had some notion that she would go back and become deeply involved in educating girls. Now, I want to say this now, that this particular little school in Murtazabad was co-ed. It was girls and boys. And it went through grade 6 at the time that she was there. So it wasn't just that the girls were being ignored. They were very much a part of the student body. So those are the dates. It was 2007 when my son and I took the trip, and then I came back in 2008 because I had gone to the school. There was somebody there who got us there from our tour, and I had said, "Is there something that I can do that you would need and want? I'd like to do it for my daughter." And they said, "Yes, we would like to have our own school building. This is just a rented space." So I said, write a proposal, send it to me, and I will then come back and I did, and I came back and met with them in 2008. I flew in into Islamabad directly, and went up to Hunza, and so their proposal was interesting. It said that we recognize that we're in the 21st century. It is the age of information and knowledge, and we think that education is the single most important thing we can do for our children. We know that there are organizations about who can help, but we don't know how to network. And so they had all kinds of terms in the proposal that people were talking about: inclusion, competency, experiential learning, and so on. But I thought, let us take some time, villagers and Diana, to understand what all of this means and what it means here. What is an earthquake resistant building? Who could construct it? Can it be done here? Does it have to be imported from down country, the contractors? What about trying to get away from rote learning and experiential learning? What do you understand what that is, and who is doing it? And so we went around the country, the elders of this organization and I, plus a gentleman who I met from the very beginning, Sher Ali, who at that time was a school teacher, but he was moonlighting in the summer and had helped this tour, bringing foreigners there. And we went all over, and people were willing to see me, but I brought along the community elders. We met eventually with the U.S. ambassador. We met with Syed Babar Ali. We went to the university, Aga Khan University Examination Board, to find out what are the standards that they are trying to impart in their many schools. And in the end, who are the contractors? We vetted them all.
So, Diana, I'm going to interrupt here. And so the building, the structure hadn't been started, and you were looking at the core, the educational issues, what you were going to bring to this educational institution, not just stop at the brick and mortar. So I'm very interested to know, first of all, the story behind the building and how you brought the communities together, the community and the elders and the lawyers, and so it went through a lot of process. And then what makes the school so special?
I think the communities, they wanted all these things, but they wanted to be part of making it happen. And so you see, there's work to be done even there, that they understand what it is they say they want, what is possible, and have they established committees of their own? Are they willing to put in a lot of work themselves, and not just to jump at this idea or that, or this interloper who might come in and try to say, oh, we can do it, and so on. That it would be a learning process. And to me, that is the beginning. That should be the beginning of any community development project. And it was important to take the time. We made a mistake or two, and then we decided we would sit down and talk about what did we learn from that mistake? How could we improve our approach the next time around?
Diana, at this point, were you living in Pakistan or you were commuting?
I was living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I came to Pakistan, including this past visit, would have been my 22nd visit there. And I would come for anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months and stay. And I started this at age 75. So I was in even better shape then than I am now. And I traveled by myself. But the minute that I landed, most often in Islamabad, I was met by Sher Ali and some of the elders from the village, and we had a team, and we had a driver who I knew, and he would meet us, and then we would either fly to Gilgit-Baltistan, or once or twice we drove, because that would, as you know, planes going to Gilgit, they can't fly if the pilot can't see the mountains. And so you have to always have the option of driving. So now the story about coming to Pakistan starts for me when my daughter went there to hike, as I said, in 93 and 4. And it started for me when I made the visit there in 2007, and then 8, and then the school was finished in 2018. But I think you have a program where you want to talk about women and what it takes for women to succeed and what contributions they can make. And so that part of the story starts much earlier for me.
Okay.
I'm introduced as a philanthropist and yes, a retired businesswoman, but I have had many lives. I graduated from university, and in those days, I'm 92 now. So when I tell you about these things, you'll understand where I'm coming from.
I'm going to interrupt. I'm going
Yes.
to interrupt. Your story is so interesting because when I met you in Islamabad, age 92, active as ever, people around me who've been meeting you over the years saying that Diana has a memory of an elephant. She doesn't forget anything. And I'm awed. It's awesome that you can look behind and tell us your story. And in one of the one of the information on internet, it says that you have been a great adventurer, traveler as well. So that part of your life, I would, looking backwards, it would be very interesting to know. And now, we're in this AI, this AI situation and technology and all of that. So where did it start for you? And going to university at that time, very interested to know about that.
Well, when I did graduate in 1955, women were not given, there was a glass door in terms of being hired by industry or coming into government and then moving up the ranks. And I've never let anything like that stop me. I've always said, well, what am I interested in? And I will find a way to express it. So I would tell women that in those days, I began to get my sense of how to bring things together, an idea, but let's make it work, by volunteering in organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And there you could own the idea, the development of the approach and the execution of something. And women were more likely than men to be involved in voluntary organizations. Now, that is not the case nowadays. Our young women are graduating and going to law school and going to medical school and running for public office as soon as possible. And they are chairing boards of directors, and they are running corporations. But that was sort of the approach for me. So whatever is possible at the time, you think about it, you see what are the entry points, and you move and you go for it, and you gain experience one way or another, given the time and the social situation in your own part of the world. I went to Vassar College, and when I arrived, World War II had just ended, and the campus was filled with refugees who had come over to the United States under the Displaced Persons Act after World War II. They were running elevators, they were doing the gardening, they were doing many things. Many of them were quite talented. And so, as a young Vassar student, rather than running off to weekends at Yale or Princeton, I stayed and I developed a course teaching them English as a foreign, those who were not speaking English, to teach them English. And I became very much involved with the immigrant population there in Poughkeepsie, New York. As a matter of fact, one of the displaced persons who'd come over, a Russian, I ended up marrying. And that is the father of Leeza Tschursin, who this activity in Pakistan is all about. Now, why would I have such an open mind? Let's find out about new people. Let's work with people who need. Coming from Santa Fe, which I said is multicultural, and I, as a child, a funny story. Well, it wasn't funny at the time. My parents had divorced, and my mother had moved on and married a gentleman who worked for the United Fruit Company in Guatemala, which we would call at that time a banana republic. So I had to go and visit her. So at age 7, my sister at 14, and this is before the United States entered World War II, we took the train alone to Mexico City, and then we were going to fly from Mexico City to Guatemala City to see our mother. But at that time, although the United States was not in the war, there were German submarines all up and down the coasts of Central America. And so there were many American soldiers and diplomats in that area. And these two little girls were bumped. We couldn't get on a plane. So off we go to Veracruz, which was very nice. But after that, we went in a boxcar practically through the jungles, no screens, mosquitoes everywhere. And we end up ready to cross the border from Mexico into Guatemala on a Saturday, but the customs office was closed. So we were put up in some rinky-dink place, and the next morning we crossed the river in a dugout canoe. My pigtails or long braids were drenched with citronella, and we met our mother. I learned at a very young age, because my father knew we had to go, that if you have to go somewhere, you go. And so I'm not really afraid of things. So you go in a dugout boat, a dugout wooden boat, or whatever, you get there. And that kind of instinct, that kind of training is important in the early age. Then my father married a Hispanic American. Later, my sister married the son of a famous Indian Taos Pueblo artist. So I was used to, from early age, many cultures, different ways of life, and all of that meaning interesting, exciting, and okay. So after Vassar, I graduate and hope to get a job. So I got a job with the Fulbright committee. I was a typist, but I didn't know how to type. So I learned to type. And I
Okay.
mentioned Fulbright because I am concerned right now that the Fulbright program, which I think is very important in Pakistan, that the entire board of directors of the Fulbright organization in the United States has resigned because they fear that they're being interfered with in terms of picking the best persons to apply for some kind of a politically directed agenda. I am concerned that this very fine organization that is good and important in Pakistan continues its good work. I'm going to leave that there because I don't want to get into the geopolitics of what is happening on either side of the world, yours or mine.
Yeah, Diana, coming back to like a crossroads of geopolitics, which is Hunza, which is Gilgit, which is the CPEC route for us. You did so much. You built this school. There's so much talk about the school in Murtazabad. So the president of Pakistan also named you for the Tamgha-e-Khidmat in recognition of your services to education in Gilgit and Baltistan, and you received the award as well.
Yes.
So what is, in your opinion, the special, like the speciality of this school? What makes it so special?
Well, we're getting away from bricks and mortar now, and we're talking about the academic approach. Long before the Aga Khan Foundation asked for the community, not me, the community owned the school, to gift the school to the Aga Khan Foundation on behalf of the Aga Khan Education Service. I had been able to meet with people at the Aga Khan University Examination Board, and a gentleman there by the name of Shahzad Jiva, who was the director of that program. And so what I'm trying to say is you have to be doing everything at the same time. At the same time, we were trying to be sure the community was ready. We were trying to find out who we could retain the services of to build the school. We were finding out what are the better educational programs in Pakistan. We were looking to see who in Pakistan itself would be interested in helping us. And you do all of this at the same time, and that is my executive experience. I have run companies. I have done things of that nature, and you are doing it all at the same time. You see what comes up first. You see what those options are. You might not pursue some of them. You had some other openings that you had, and you finally see what kind of agreement can you get? And in the meanwhile, you must be sure that the community itself is involved in every step of the way. If you're meeting with the lawyers, they must be present. If you're meeting with contractors, they must be present. If you're going off to a university, they must come too. And that is how you put it together. That is how I would run all of the affairs of my life. And the first thing I always do is I look for who are the best lawyers to keep me from doing the wrong thing, and to be sure that if I convince locals to go along with my idea, I'm not getting them into trouble. So
Yeah.
we had a very fine law firm that represented the community and as well as the donor, me.
Because it was a very large amount of money, approximately $3.2 million, that you were spending to build the school and to run the school. So Diana, tell me, what makes the school so special? What do you find very endearing and special about this school? What brings you satisfaction?
What brings me satisfaction is that at one point then, when we did decide that to turn it over to the Aga Khan Education Service, they kept their word too. We had 2 years to negotiate what they would do. And now we are seeing 3 cohorts of grade 12, and it was supposed to grow through grade 12. And we insisted on early childhood development too, which now is everybody in Pakistan is doing that, and including the Aga Khan Education Service. We now, I am so pleased to see that we are starting from a grade age 3 through grade 12, and that it's still co-ed, and that many of the prizes could be given, and all of the examinations boards taken, the scores are very high, and those students from this part of Hunza could go to any university, many of them, to any university in Pakistan or the world, if they had the assets to pay for advanced education. And that is the next issue. What kind of scholarships can be found for these young people to pursue their education? But the teachers now are all have college university degrees. They have maintained the building. The internet has come in through the laying of coaxial cable that has finally come through. They're smart, they're knowledgeable, and they are studying in a wonderful milieu of a beautiful school, beautiful surroundings, through the worldwide Agency for Nature. They early appreciated to study the environment, and those are, of course, saving the environment now that the school belongs to the Aga Khan is one of the primary interests of the new Aga Khan V, the environment. And we're right there to be one of the best schools he can point to.
Yeah, and that is a sensitive area because we have major glaciers there that are melting and creating such
Yes.
an, the environment change here.
Yes.
Diana, thank you so much for doing all of this work for Murtazabad, for the girls and the boys of Murtazabad, and bringing the best education possible, going around Pakistan to bring the best, and also sharing your experiences. And what I really liked when you were sharing is that you got to do what you got to do. You got to go where you have to go. That will always stay with me. So, Diana, as we conclude, there are when people want to give, and especially when they want to give across borders, they want to create. I think your giving is not just simple giving. It's not just brick and mortar. It has created options of diplomacy also. So, can you, like, what would your advice be? What are the next steps? Please give advice to people who want to, cross borders for this level of philanthropy, and that resounds into diplomacy as well.
I would be glad to do so. And the circumstances of what I'm about to say have enforced what I want to say. I spent primarily my own money for this, and I spent more than the school itself's construction cost. And think about it. The World Bank, USAID, anyone who says they can build a school for this amount, think of the overhead that they spend running their organizations. So I paid for that, shall we say, that investment in lawyers, accountants, trips, whatnot. And I did not do it with philanthropic money. I did it under contracts. And then I gave, when we knew what we were doing, we hoped, I did give through philanthropy. And then at the very end, when we needed to have some assistance for infrastructure for the village, only then did we go to a government entity, USAID, and say, give us a better water system and waste disposal for the village, and we'll connect to it. Nowadays, many countries have had to pull back because of their own economic problems and the amount of contributions they're sending to Pakistan. And the United States has wiped out USAID. So when I received this award, I said, thank you, sir. But in my heart, everyone who was part of the group who I organized to get this done, they are part of the award. Contractors who finally agreed to do a good job and go up there and perform, keep doing it. Universities and other philanthropists who helped us as individuals and entities and resources of Pakistan, keep doing it. Community people who have learned how to do this, remember what you learned, because you're going to have to, on your own, network for the resources of your own country, and as a bonus, when you can get outsiders to come in and also help you. It's our job now. We have got to fill the development gap that has resulted from the fact that governments are giving less. And your own government needs now to work with all of you who have learned what to do and how, and more importantly, how to get something done, to work smart and work together. And that would include that the Aga Khan Development Network, which is important in Pakistan, and other organizations like that should partner with everyone who has something to offer. Don't anybody work in isolation. It takes cooperation across the board to get things done. Cooperate and work smart. That would be what I would say. We didn't know that we would have to say this when we were working, but that's the way we operated. I paid a lot of the bills, but I was teaching everyone how you're going to be having another project and you are learning how to work together, and then you will work together when I'm gone. And now that is more important than ever, given what the economic situation and the views of governments are around the world.
Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you so much. I wish we had unlimited time to learn from you and to learn to the stories that you have. And Diana, your legacy will live on. We have the most that we learn from you is that to give back. And giving back one's own money is the most difficult thing for so many people. And networks and creating the goodness around it. All of that, lots to learn from you. And you know, the girls who were named after you, who were named Diana from 2010 onwards, will grow up and become mothers and grandmothers and tell your story. Thank you so much for doing what you have done and sharing your time with us and joining us from Santa Fe. Thank you, best wishes, and look forward to meeting you soon in Islamabad again.
Thank you, Mehnaz.